Well, hello and welcome back to the Shallow Proclamation. My name is Thomas, and as always, I'm joined by.
Paul.
And we're watching Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 6, the Interstellar Song Contest. We were told by Rebecca Burgess in our Discord to avoid spoilers for this like the plague. So we've tried our best. But, Paul, how are you feeling going into this?
Well, Thomas, I need to tell you something.
Mm.
I have seen this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually watched it with your housemate Chris.
He cheated on me.
No, not really. I have seen the episode. However, so what happened was I didn't watch the episode when it went out, and then I saw a.
I'm just going to say, Paul, whatever the explanation is, it's not going to make it better. The damage has been done. No, I'm
Yeah,
joking.
yeah. It's really Chris you need to have a word with.
Okay.
So I didn't see the episode when it went out, and I was like, I'm going to try and avoid spoilers. And then I saw like an article, like a heading of an article that said this actress now, is playing returning something or other. And I went, okay, I could probably guess what this is, but I've not been spoiled yet. That's fine. Then I happened to see like a bit where it said, this actress is now playing this character. And I went, oh, well, okay, fair enough. I then happened to open Instagram and literally there was a video right there. And I just went, bugger. And at that point I thought, I've been spoiled so much, I'm just going to watch this now before any more spoil. However, something does occur in the story that I wasn't spoiled on. So,
Okay. So it
that
had
was
some surprises.
Yes, so I don't know, but you feel you've already been spoiled, do you think, or you've heard?
Well, so I mean, it's again, it reveals how hard it is, doesn't it? If you're on social media, if you haven't watched the episode as soon as it goes out, it's very hard to avoid spoilers, especially when you're subscribed to lots of Doctor Who related channels and stuff,
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
are, or even just the algorithm when we log into YouTube is going to be Doctor Who related. But so I saw one thumbnail posted by the Doctor Who channel that gave some indication as to who a certain character is, but I didn't watch the video. I'll tell you after we watch this episode.
Yeah, that's fine.
that
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Probably goes without saying that this is going to be a reaction to the episode. So if you watching haven't seen it yet and you don't want it spoiled, you might want to come back to this video. That probably kind of goes without saying, but
We've definitely had people in the past, haven't we, who've been. Well, wasn't someone miffed. No, it wasn't that we spoiled it for someone. Someone was annoyed. They were like, you just keep talking over it.
right.
It's like, if you just want to watch the episode, just go and watch it on iPlayer. You can watch it without us talking.
We did get a comment actually on the giggle reaction that we did because the thumbnail for that, I was a bit unthinking about it, I guess. I'd put a still from the bi-generation of like Tennant and Gatwa kind of
Oh,
separating. And we got a few comments on that, people saying, you've spoiled it in the thumbnail. Maybe wait another week or something before putting an image like that in the thumbnail. So I actually changed it. That was
did
very
you?
helpful. That was a helpful kind of wake up call to me to try and just be conscious of that. But it is if you go on YouTube, you're probably
right.
going to get it spoiled.
Well, where I got spoiled, like I say, was like on. I know you've not. I've got an Android phone. When you swipe across, and it just gives you loads of news articles, and that's where I got spoiled on
Yeah.
characters. But then it was Instagram. Literally opened Instagram and went, "Oh bugger."
Thing is, though, thing I always say is with spoilers, it's good to, there isn't something fun about not knowing about a twist or something big that happens or a big reveal.
There's always a twist at the end.
But I always think, if it's a good story, it should be able to hold up even if it's been spoiled for you. And actually, I think the best twists, reward like the repeat viewing. So I saw Fight Club again recently, which is famous for its twist. Which I won't spoil. But
Right.
seeing it on second viewing is so much fun. It really works. Whereas I think if it being spoiled means that it's then boring to watch, that's a problem with the story and not
Yeah,
the
sure.
spoiler, if
It
that
should.
makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes it's like a film again. Won't spoil it, but a film like The Usual Suspects
Yeah, yeah,
is enjoyable on a rewatch, even if you know the twist, because you start to look for things. But
exactly. Whereas if the value is only in the reveal and just that moment of you going, oh, it's that person, and then the rest of the story is quite boring, you're just kind of like, oh, great. Well, now I know it is. I don't really need to see that again. Well, on that note, do we dive into it?
I think so. Yeah, let's do it.
This does feel very Eurovision-y, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I think it looks really good. Apparently, this is the most expensive episode of Doctor Who ever made.
Oh, wow.
This actually reminds me a bit of the Senate in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. Paul, have I ever told you the story of Darth Plagueis? No, that's in a different room where they do that bit. But the Yoda Palpatine battle is in the Senate.
Yeah, that's very true.
Can you believe it's 20 years
Oh, mate.
since
No,
Revenge
I
of the
can't.
Sith?
I can't.
Wait, how does she know who that guy is?
Rylan,
Yes.
because he's from like TV now.
Oh, yeah. This shows how little TV I watch.
He's in.
I do
They've had him in
recognise.
cryogenic suspension. They just get him out for this. Yeah. Although the idea of bringing someone out every year for this event is a bit like this Christmas Carol, isn't it?
Indeed, indeed. Which is still probably one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Such a good one. Certainly one of my favourite Christmas specials. Man, that is not a good way to go.
No.
Goodness
This.
me. Oh
That's
my
such
goodness.
a great shot. Great shot.
Go back, grandfather. Go back.
No way.
So that was the thing I didn't have spoiled.
Oh, good. Because when they didn't have Susan in the previous season, I was like, that's going to be really anticlimactic if they set that up and then nothing comes of it. Oh, wow. Carol Ann
Susan-
Ford.
The Susan twist.
That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, so I didn't know anything about that.
The most menacing Zoom call I've seen in a while. I like that the show's kind of referencing this and exploring the possibility of the Doctor going too far in his
Yeah.
punishments. Yeah, that's interesting. Please wake up.
Remind us of the world we lost.
That would be a cool crossover one. But then Murray Gold really would have run out of ideas. That's a nice touch, because Eurovision, it's often like notable, isn't it, when the country does it in their language rather than doing it in English.
I think it works well as what makes it work quite nicely here is that you don't know what she's saying.
Yeah, could be the most profound thing ever written.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually anything if we could understand it, it probably wouldn't be as impactful as this, as you say.
Yeah.
Poor old Earth died many years ago.
Hologram explain?
The history books say the planet ended on the old Earth date, May the 24th, 2025.
Oh, nice.
How?
This feels like Doctor Who, doesn't it?
Getting there.
Getting there. We're getting closer. Whoa. Carol Ann Ford. Mid credits.
Oh, must we? How inelegant. Oh, I'm ever so sorry, ma'am.
Well, they never taught me that in nursing school. Our name is Varada.
Yeah, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Then come with me, Mrs. Flood. Out of the way, boys, because I have a date to arrange. As for the doctor, I will bring him absolute terror.
That's what I said.
Shut up.
Yes, ma'am.
There we go.
So I will tell you, the thumbnail I saw on YouTube was Mrs. Flood surrounded by the like regenerational energy. So I was like, oh, okay, she's probably a Time Lord. And then I heard, oh, sorry, Time Lady. But then I heard rumblings of the Rani. And I think when we were on with Sam, one of you raised that as a possible theory for who Mrs. Flood was, which is obviously something from the classic era that I haven't actually got to. So, I mean, I'm kind of like, cool, it's the Rani. I don't really know any. It's almost like when Sutek was revealed. It's like, cool, I feel some weight to this, but not a huge amount because I haven't actually got to that era, that part of the classic era yet. But you, being someone who's seen the whole classic era, how did that land for you? Or was that was the thing that was spoiled for you as well?
Well, it was spoiled. So I'd seen that it said that lady, I don't know what her name is actually, whatever her name was on the credits there, who's playing the new Rani.
Yeah.
And it said, such and such is returning villain, and I thought like, oh, in that case, she's probably the Rani. But I hadn't put the two together that Mrs. Flood was the Rani at that point. And then I saw an article that said such and such is playing the Rani. Sorry, first of all, it just said as it comes back as returning villain. And then I saw a bit that said she's definitely the Rani. And I went, okay, but I don't see how Mrs. Flood ties in with that. When I opened Instagram, it was like comparing the two by generations. And it was literally like, and I was like, by the time I'd processed what I was looking at, I went, oh no.
Yeah.
So that, but I didn't know about Susan. Yeah, so the Rani thing. So the Rani literally appears in two stories in the classic era in the 80s, in the Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy eras, in what I would describe as two not particularly exceptional stories.
Okay, yeah.
She's also in the 1993 comic relief special, which is even less well received.
Interesting. So this isn't like a beloved Doctor Who villain necessarily.
Well, it's strange. I would say that the character of the Rani is. So the two stories she's in are not particularly good.
Okay.
But as a character herself, she's relatively well. She's a relatively decent character, and she's become sort of established in people's minds as a Time Lord figure that exists in the show. Nowhere near on the level of the Master, because obviously the Master's in loads of stuff and has much more of a weight behind him, whereas the Rani not so much. So I think for me, even though it was spoiled, there's still an element of kind of like, okay, it's like I said, when it said returning villain, I kind of went, oh, that's probably the Rani then.
Yeah,
and it was. I don't know. It's not a Utopia moment. It's not like when I watched when I watched Utopia, and obviously that would have been different for you as well. But for me, watching Utopia, you're like, oh my goodness, like it's going to be the Master. Is it going to be the Master? And it was like jaw-dropping kind of and exciting, and like, oh my goodness, they've actually brought him back, and this is epic.
And that didn't actually have a huge build-up, did it? Because was Derek Jacobi in it at all before that episode?
No.
So it was only over the course of that episode that it had to build it up, which was why it was kind of partly why it was such an amazing kind of twist, because it still really landed, didn't it? Mrs. Flood, maybe part of the challenge is we've been waiting so long now to find out who she is. In a sense, whoever it was going to be was going to feel slightly anticlimactic.
I think, I wonder whether... So... Yeah, for me, it's a little bit of a kind of, it's okay, it's fine. I still can't quite get my head around what this new era of Doctor Who is trying to do, because if you're, to rebrand the whole series as season 1 and 2 for like Disney and all this, and then to
bring back the
like
Rani.
Sutek and Mel and the Rani, just loads of stuff which is calling back to Susan.
Yeah, from the
classic
first ever
era.
episode of Doctor Who. Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like a really bizarre thing. Like, why? What are you trying to do here?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's unusual from a marketing point of view if it's like meant to be a soft reboot and, capture new fans if it's leaning so heavily into classic era stuff.
I
But equally for, yeah, that the Susan thing, that genuinely, like, I did not see that coming. That was
No,
kind
and
of
I hadn't had
interesting.
anything spoiled at all on that, so that was a really nice surprise, and I'm really glad. And we'd said in the last season, because the Doctor had mentioned early on, hadn't he? I think it's in the Devil's Cord, I used to live over there, or right now I'm living over there in 1963,
Yeah.
with my granddaughter and stuff. And we were kind of thought it was building towards something, and Susan Twist and all that stuff and that kind of thing. And it didn't really come to anything. So I'm really glad we are getting her back in the season. Presumably she's going to appear in the finale in some way, we'd assume. And it's got to go somewhere. Yeah, I don't know like where that's. I don't really know what they're going to do with her, like what the angle is.
Yeah.
But no, I'm really pleased. It would be really good to have Carol Ann Ford back in it. I mean, I'll obviously need to hold off judgment a little bit to see what they do and where it lands. But
Yeah.
I think in terms of the Mrs. Flood reveal, I don't know. Part of me would rather it was a new character, like a character who you get a sense the Doctor has met before, but we've not met before. So that you get the sense there's a history there or something.
Yeah, and also like because we were thinking, is it going to tie into this sort of pantheon that they've been building? But
I don't.
but then I guess is it going to be her who causes the end of the world on when is it the 25th of 24th?
Yeah, May 24th. Yeah.
Or is that something else? And is this actually a slight red herring that she's going to
It might
end up
be.
having to work alongside the Doctor or something to
Yeah.
save Earth for some reason? Yeah, as an episode
mean-
as a whole, it was a strange one, isn't it? Like one of the better ones of the season, which has been quite a strong season. Just that bit at the end when they were running to the TARDIS and like the jeopardy. That's why I said this is beginning to feel like Doctor Who because it was kind of like just you get moments where you're like, oh, I wish the show had been doing more of this up to this point. I wish the previous season had more of this kind of weight to it. And is it going to be too little, too late? But yeah, it was a kind of fun episode, but serious when it needed to be. Had some pretty high stakes. Kind of enjoyable overall, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly came out of the experience of watching it and feeling like I just enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Like it was an enjoyable episode, and I think as well because I was worried it was going to be really pants, like Eurovision Song Contest parody. I thought we'd have loads of like song and dance numbers, and although we do get a song, it's very much near the end. You only get snippets of some of the other songs. They're not like it's not like a big focus. You get that one song at the end, but actually it's quite tastefully done, so it's not just like the Goblin thing again, or the one with the Beatles.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, and there's some great ideas in there. I mean, we said visually it looks just stunning as a story, and particularly those shots of the people rising up out of the sort of stadium space station into space. There's things that I think for me. There's like watching it again. Like there's things that I'm less taken by. So I mean, even at the time, the first watch through, I was disappointed that it was like actually those people are all okay. It feels like a bit of a cop out. Like it feels a bit like it's trying to be too safe for children's television. Like well, we can't kill all these people. That would be too horrific. And I think that kind of took away from it, like because you kind of thought, oh, everyone's just going to be okay then. Just this once, everybody lives. Just this 300th time, everybody lives.
exactly.
So I thought that was a shame. So I felt it was a bit of a cop out. And then I really like the characters of Gary and Mike, the two guys, the little couple there. I think they're really likable, but they are incredibly convenient. oh, he just happens to be an expert in triangulation. He just happens to be a nurse.
Yeah.
And they're exactly what I need. And there's a bit of a convenient ending with the kind of like everybody's just appearing back in the, oh, we can turn this into a revival booth. And it's like,
Yeah, it's all
That's-
quite
that's-
neat, isn't it?
yeah, it felt a little bit, that feels a little bit sort of CBBS children's TV to me, CBBC, sort of just click your fingers and we make all this stuff go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not sure that, I'm not sure I find the villain that sort of inspiring in the end. Kid is sort
Yeah.
of like a,
That's probably a good thing.
well, yeah,
No,
that's
I'm
probably
joking.
true.
Like, oh yeah,
Sort of
I
a-
want to be like him when I grow up.
Just
No, I'm
like
joking.
him.
But yeah, I know what you
This-
mean.
Sort of mulleted emo kid in mascara, Probably he's been listening to too much My Chemical Romance and is feeling quite angry about the world,
It is that kind of look, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are things there. I mean, but it was enjoyable. I am kind of slightly pleased that, having been disappointed in the Doctor's characterization in previous stories, that seems to be being referenced slightly.
Yes, I'm glad they
It's-
acknowledged that.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to go somewhere because Belinda's saying, like, that's not him. And you're like, well, actually, love, it is him, like you say, because this season it has been. So I hope that does kind of go somewhere. I do think it's odd, though. Again, I sometimes think I'm not sure. I'm not seeing the joined up lines here because in the giggle when the bi-generation happens, isn't like Ncuti Gatwa's whole thing as the new Doctor. He's like, we're doing therapy the wrong way round. Like he's the one that's healed and like he's over the PTSD.
Right.
That was the idea of that new Doctor. But in this now, it seems like he doesn't seem like that at all.
Yes, that's interesting.
Like Rusty Davis has just forgotten that's what he decided to
Yeah.
say in that story. Like in my mind, it feels like we've lost the thread now and we've gone somewhere other way. But
Yeah. Because I do like the concept of the Doctor becoming vengeful and then going too far and then needing a human companion to kind of pull him back and challenge him on that. And if that had been developed throughout the 2 seasons of the Doctor begins to develop a taste for, say he discovers that he ends up in lots of situations where actually torturing the villain proves to be effective in his mind. And so he starts to lean into it more, and it's kind of a slippery slope. If they kind of built it up like that, and you see the darkness creeping into him, I think that would work really well. I think, as you say, I mean, we saw it at the end with Comrade, but that sort of came from nowhere. And then now again, at least they're referencing it, but where has that darker thread come from?
I think maybe the problem is with the short seasons, there's not the time to develop these things, So whilst I do like a darker Doctor, it feels a little bit just unearned, like it's just we'll just do it here, It doesn't quite work for me in that way. A bit like we said in the last season, the relationship between Ruby and the Doctor feels unearned. And even with Belinda, like I like her more than Ruby, but it still feels a bit too pally. And like at the end, she's like, "I've never told you you're wonderful." And it's like you've just seen him literally try and torture this guy.
Yeah. And
I
you
know
want
she
to
says
get
afterwards
home,
she's-
and you were like, yeah, that was a really interesting thing about the first episode of like the reluctant companion, but that's kind of been, it's like she still wants to go home, but now she really loves the Doctor and she loves traveling around, and it's
And he wasn't even there for one story. Neither was she. I don't know. Yeah, so I think that there's an issue with just you can't develop the relationships as you did over sort of a 13 episode season back in 2005.
So there are big problems with this season, but it's still, to my mind, a better season than the previous one, like already.
Oh yeah.
And I think the fact that it's set up quite a big threat for the 2-part finale. I'm hoping that's going to be a finale that does it justice. Because you make a very good point about when the episode begins with everyone dying, you know that it's going to be a kind of reset type thing, and everyone's going to be. So weirdly, it actually, you don't really feel the stakes of it. I said this episode had stakes because I think it did in certain moments, but you're absolutely right. When everyone is kind of blown out into space or something, or Empire of Death, literally everyone turns to dust. You're like, clearly the solution to this is going to be a reversal, and everyone's going to be fine. Whereas when it's like a battle or something where quite a few people die, and it's like, actually, I like a Doctor Who story where it feels like, there's a happy ending, but it came at a cost. And there's actually a sense in which, it's not just back to normal. Something has happened here and there's a weight to this, and it kind of looms over the people. Some of the most powerful classic era stories have been where, like, the Doctor leaves the planet that he's saved, and the people are kind of all, like, pretty bereft and, because of what they've gone through, and like they've lost so many of their people and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm hoping that this finale isn't just going to kill everyone right at the start and then be like, oh great, well,
need a reset.
But
I think this story, like, if they'd let the 100,000 people die.
Wow,
like,
Paul.
if that had been the story,
no, I'm joking.
But wouldn't it? I think it would have had a bigger dramatic weight rather than being 10 minutes, or 5 minutes after that's happened. You mean they're still alive at the moment? They're still safe? You're like, oh, it doesn't have the balls to carry it through. Basically, as a story.
Yeah, because what you could do, you could say like the Doctor and Mrs. Flood survive because they remain inside the bubble or something. Or they're able to pull them back. They go, but the other, if like a substantial portion still left the gravity field, and you're right, it would feel more impactful, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I have enjoyed it. I did enjoy the episode. I think it is an enjoyable watch. I mean, I'm not. Like I said, with the reveal of sort of the Rani, like, it's a bit kind of like, okay, fair enough. I mean, it's a nice little classic era touch, but it's not the kind of thing that makes me really, like, doesn't make the fanboy in me squee, like they would say.
Right.
It's kind of like, okay, nice. Don't think it's going to mean anything to anyone else, quite frankly. Particularly not, I mean, it's not going to mean anything to modern Who viewers, and it's not going to mean anything to some Gen Z person who Russell T Davies seems to think is the main audience for this at the moment. So I'm not really sure the thinking behind it. I'm a bit like, by generation again.
Yeah,
like, it's supposed to be this really rare thing, and then also the fact that Mrs. Flood seems a bit sort of like subservient to the new Rani. Like, she's like, yes ma'am, yes, sorry ma'am, So I don't know what that dynamic's going to be like. I guess we need to see where it pans out to, but it's like, stop trying to make it a thing, Russell, fetch. Stop trying to make fetch is not going to happen. Stop making it. Stop trying to make it a thing. By generation.
Yeah,
but
because they might build something into the lore where it's like the 15th regeneration of a Time Lord is a bi-generation.
yeah, I suppose you could do that.
You could do that. I'm not saying you should. Well, yeah, because it said it's like a very rare thing to happen, isn't it? And
Well, also the thing that I saw someone else raise, it was like, she says, this is I can't remember what Mrs. Flood's line is, but she says something about being a time lady,
Yeah.
and it's like, what does that even mean? Like, I mean, back in the classic era, Time Lords and Time Ladies, but like,
yeah.
Could the Rani just be a man next week if she gets run over by a bus? Like, it feels like, why would she call herself a time lady if we've dispensed with all that stuff? I don't know. Like, It to me, there's some confusion in the writing here between eras. People are, again, just all over the shop.
And I've just realised, is Gatwa the 15th regeneration? He isn't, is he? Because child stuff.
Yeah, and he's not even without that, is he? Because the War Doctor counts, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, man.
As an extra one, so I don't know. Like, I've lost. To be honest, I'm losing count at this stage.
How many Doctors? Yeah.
But I wonder where the Gatwa is going to go at the end of the season.
Interesting. Do you think we'll see his it might end with him regenerating and not reveal it. That would be a cool way of showing the next Doctor, is like announcing it in the show by just having the regeneration.
I don't think they'd ever do that. I mean, I would love it. I mean, I've said
Yeah.
a few times over the years, like, it would be great to have a regeneration which is a complete surprise where you don't know that they're leaving
Yeah.
and the new person is just there. However, I just don't think from a from a PR promotional point of view anyone would ever do it, and I think it'd be so hard to keep it secret.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe 2 weeks from now, or a week and a half from now, when the finale's finally done, we'll be like, "Oh well, there you go. Turned out it was such and such, and it's
Yeah.
happened."
The closest the show's got to that is John Hurt, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
that
very much so.
really was a surprise, and then and then it just said introducing John Hurt as the Doctor. I was
Yeah,
like,
and
that's
we all
pretty
went,
cool.
What? Yeah, that's a proper what moment, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I've got to say, other thing I would say is like I say, I did enjoy it, and then I read someone else's review,
Yeah.
and it got me thinking a bit. So they said they'd watched this episode immediately after watching the end of Andor season 2, the Star Wars thing. Now I've not seen Andor. I'm a little bit behind. I've just seen Ahsoka, and done that. Even though actually only Ahsoka season 1 because I just got bogged down in other things.
Yeah.
So I've not seen any of Andor, and but the things I'm hearing about it is a lot of people have, particularly about this second season, are saying it's like one of the best things to come out of Star Wars
Wow.
in recent years, if not one of the best Star Wars things that's out there currently. And this person kind of said, I've just finished watching Andor, and it's a really sort of, it's thoughtful and it's shocking, and there's a sense of dread that it creates that builds through this, and tension and stuff. And they said, and then I watched this, and within 5 seconds I've got like a furry on the screen, like this cat thing person, and just like, and it did make me think, like, Doctor Who it's just streets apart at the moment from being like, I don't know, like, what's the right words? It's sort of a credible science fiction show,
Right. Must watch.
like must watch, like, and the kind of thing where you come away and go, wow, that was really good. It's just a bit silly. Now, you can always argue that Doctor Who's always had that element of this in it.
Yeah.
And of course, I think that's true.
And
But
there
it's
are
also-
different genres of TV, and different shows are trying to do different things. But yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
very valid point.
But it does feel like Doctor Who is much more on the kind of silly side compared to something where you come out like, and presumably like Andor, which
Yeah.
is maybe a bit more thoughtful and, just stronger. It's a shame because I'd quite like to see the show go back more. I'd like to see the show more in that direction.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a stronger kind of thing on that side, but
I was struck by like watching the new season of Black Mirror, and obviously, again, very different tone.
Very
That's,
different
like,
show, yeah.
much more adult, and it's doing a different thing. But it has a second part to the the USS Callista episode, the kind of Star Trekky one with Jesse Plemons.
Yes,
It has a
yes,
second
yes.
part to that, and I just watched that, and I just thought this is such a great concept, and it's like developed it really well, really good performances. But it's also a lot of fun. And you're just like, the quality of the writing and something like that, and with Charlie Brooker, who's obviously a genius, and Andor and stuff, that quality of writing is possible within the Doctor Who universe. It's not like the nature of Doctor Who prevents that sort of
No.
writing, because we have seen Doctor Who writing be that good. During RTD's first era, for example. So I think whether it's just trying to do something different, just for the sake of it, or maybe it was a bold move for RTD returning, because I realise you go through stages of life, and like you get on a roll with momentum with something, and then coming back to it years later, it's almost an impossible act to follow. But yeah, I just when you see how good writing can be in sci-fi shows, and then you watch Doctor Who at the moment, there is a real gulf, isn't there?
Yeah,
As
yeah. There's a
actors,
massive gulf. Even if Doctor Who is enjoyable,
yeah,
even
yeah,
if it's an enjoyable episode like I found this one, yeah, it's by no means on the level of some of those other things, which is a shame because, as you say, it could be, it can be, it has been.
and it deserves to be. It's one of the longest running shows ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, obviously we have to do a season review at the end, but I think if we're going to still be stuck with sort of seasons of 8 episodes, I'd rather see 8 episodes with sort of one long story. I know Flux didn't really work, but I think
Yeah,
I'd rather see something which has like in this kind of age that we watch of the sort of Netflix 8 part season of something.
yeah,
I think I'd rather have that with some really solid writing than sort of just these slightly throwaway, brightly coloured stories. But I don't know.
yeah,
Each to their own.
yeah. It's like you almost just want to see it really commit to a concept and just run with it. Like, what if what if you did an entire Doctor Who season where the whole thing is a chase?
Can't be done, Thomas. Can't be done. Surely not.
But no, I don't know. Maybe that's a bad idea. But yeah, no, I think that's very worth mentioning. Like, I've enjoyed this season. It's been better than last season. I've enjoyed it more than the Chibnall era. This is one of the best Doctor Who seasons I've seen in years, but still, compared to other shows at the moment, it's quite mediocre.
It's still like so. So my impression, like I say, of Andor, because I've not seen it, but people are so positive about it. Like my wife, she's not into any of this stuff really. But I almost kind of said, when we get to the end of what we're watching, I was like, oh well, maybe I suggest we watch Andor. I'd be like, I know you're not into Star Wars, but I hear it's actually quite good.
Yeah.
I don't think I would suggest that with Doctor Who at the moment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, oh no, really, you should give it a go. It's actually really good when you watch it. I'd be like, I mean, it's good if you like Doctor Who, but I don't think anyone outside.
I haven't recommended this era to anyone.
No.
My flatmate Chris, yeah, he's a fan as well, as you know, and he'll sometimes come down into the kitchen and be like, "Oh, have you watched the latest Doctor Who?" And it's always exciting when there's a new Doctor Who episode out, and you like, "Have you seen it yet? What did you think of it?" It's fun. There is a certain buzz around just it being new, but I don't think I'm gonna be rewatching this in years to come in the way that I endlessly rewatch Midnight and the Tennant episodes, and I think I've been through a lot of the Tennant episodes like 10 times. I can't imagine doing that with any of these, sadly.
No, not so much. I mean, yeah, we'll have to see where it all lands at the end of the season. And it'll be interesting to know because it's sounding more and more like the show might be going on a break. I don't really know. It's hard to know what's true and what's not at the moment, and what's sort of rumours. But if it turns out, I think it will feel a bit strange if it turns out that it goes on a break and then obviously Russell T Davies moves on and someone else comes in and there's a new Doctor. I think this will feel like a very bizarre era because it's so short and it feels almost like we've barely had any Doctor Who.
And it might gain a bit of a cult following in a weird way. I could imagine that.
I can imagine that there'll be people who, for them, this will be their era.
Yeah.
And they won't, and they'll kind of maybe go back to the previous stuff and go, "Gosh, this isn't Doctor Who."
Yeah.
And whatever comes after, they'll be like, "This isn't Doctor Who," because I liked it when it was the Gatwa type style. And
like that person who commented on one of our videos saying, "For me, Doctor Who started and ended with Jodie Whittaker."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, it's fair enough. And I don't want to sound like I'm being down on it because I genuinely always want the best for the show. And I actually feel kind of bad. I do feel bad for the team because I'm sure they put a huge amount of work on it. And I believe they're trying really hard to make it work and have a lot of good intentions. So when you get a load of negative reviews and just a general heavy feeling around the show of the numbers declining. That's really hard. You don't want that. No one wants that.
No.
So I'm hoping this finale will be good, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Only a few days to go, really, till that all kicks off. So,
I mean, it could be weirdly kind of just prescient, couldn't it? On May 24th, Doctor Who the world ends, and is this going to be kind of the end of the show for a while? We'll see.
Yeah, we will. But never mind. Well, everybody, let us know what you thought of this story and what you think of sort of all the things: the return of Susan, the return of the Rani, lots of time ladies appearing all of a sudden here.
The ladies, yeah.
Here's the thing, though. So, if Susan regenerates into a man, is she still going to be called Susan?
She's still going to be the Doctor's granddaughter.
It's like no one's thought about this. This is what I'm telling you. People haven't thought about this properly.
You
That's
see,
all
it's
I'm
not
saying.
Susan, it's Shushan.
Shushan. You get you get some kudos in the comments if you know what that reference is. So
Yeah.
But anyway, let us know what you think of this story and of Return of Susan, Return of the Rani, and where we're going with this season, and what your thoughts are going into the last couple of episodes. And of course, as we've said before, if you want to discuss more stuff on Doctor Who, you can join our Discord. There's a link for that in the description, and if you'd like the full-length reactions, there's a Patreon link there as well. But Thomas, anything else you want to add?
Don't think so. It's been a blast. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.